Bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, bag alert, folks. That's right. Trevor Lawrence got paid. I don't know how to really feel about this, but we'll just have to figure it out as we go on. Wow. Wow. You know what? I need to go to the store. I need to go to the store, get me a football, see if I can start throwing some 50 and 60-yard bombs. Maybe I can try to make it to the NFL, get one good contract, just leave. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we gotta talk about, if he was, overpaid or underpaid. How does this affect future quarterback contracts? And has the quarterback market gotten out of hand? All of this and more on the 12th episode, bonus episode. To be honest with you, you're getting 2 episodes in 1 week. That's crazy, right? I know. On the 12th episode of the Football Junkies podcast, I'm your host, Kel, your GM, who is still scouting 3 years in advance. Even though, guess what? He's still not on the team. Let's get it. All right, folks. So I'm going to try to be as professional as I possibly can, but you just have to laugh at this. You just have to, because ain't no way. Ain't no way. You mean to tell me that you can be average to a little bit above average and you get paid a king's ransom? Never seen it before, but hey, whoever their agents are, I need you guys to represent me, okay? Because there's no way that this happened, but it happened, so we have to talk about it. So, if you guys don't know, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, inked a 5-year extension with them, right? 5 years, $275 million with a $37 million signing bonus, $200 million guarantee. He'll be making $55 million a year, $142 million will be guaranteed at signing, and $200 million in total guarantees according to SpotRack. Right now, before we get into the opinions and whatnot, let's look at the stats as well. Okay, so according to CBS Sports, Trevor Lawrence is fifth all time in most passing yards in the first 3 seasons at 11,770 yards. He is third all time in quick passes since entering the league at 5,483 yards according to Next Gen Stats. He has had 3 1,000 plus passing yard seasons according to ESPN. 2021 he had 3,641 yards. 2022 he had 4,113 passing yards, and then in 2023 he had 4,016 passing yards, and he had a passer rating of 71.9 in 2021, 95.2 in 2022, and 88.5 in 2023. And he's had 2 years of 20 plus touchdown seasons in both 2022 and 2023, according to ESPN. Right now, when you look at these, when you read off of these stats, it's like, wow, he sounds like an elite quarterback that's doing a whole lot and whatnot. Yes, that is true. That is true. Trevor Lawrence, is definitely up there, with quarterbacks. However, you know, when you pay any player, especially quarterbacks, this a type amount of money, what happens is it puts the team in a chokehold, because the team is no longer. It makes the team harder to build around you, right? When you look at the Patriots dynasty, for instance, Tom Brady always took less, because why? He wanted to be surrounded with talent, right? And so when you are building a team, most times you're going to have to take less. You're going to have to sacrifice a little bit, simply because if you want to bring in, a top player, you're gonna have to compensate them in some way, especially when you make a trade or you sign somebody in free agency, whatever the case may be. You're gonna have to, something's gonna have to get cut, something, right? And so, paying a player 55 million definitely puts the team in a chokehold. And perfect example with Joe Burrow, right? People think, oh, the Bengals did the right thing in signing Joe Burrow, which they did, but it's the amount of money that they signed him to, right? Because when you look at it right now, they're in a situation where they have to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And if we're being real here, Jamar Chase, that's the number one receiver. So he's going to want top dollar money. Same thing with T. Higgins. They just let go of Joe Mixon. So they've had to, figure out, and they've tried to, trim the fat a little bit just to figure out exactly how in the world they're going to, be able to try to build a team around Joe Burrow. That's what it boils down to, right? If you want a team to be able to make a playoff run and eventually win a Super Bowl, you have to be able to, recognize that, okay, certain positions you are going to invest into, and then other positions, whereas the quarterback, you may want to pay them less, because if you pay them less, that gives you the freedom to bring in anybody that you think could play a major role on the team, right? When you and that's why a lot of GMs, believe in the notion that when you get a rookie quarterback, that's the perfect time to build around them, because you don't have to pay them for 5 years, right? 5 years. You don't even have to have a conversation about them about money at all for 5 years, almost 6 years if you franchise tag them, right? And so, I say all that to say this, and I had to think about this. I had to think about it. I had to sleep on it, honestly. I was like, what? Did they overpay him? Did they not overpay him? Did they do a little bit too much? They overpaid him. They overpaid him. They overpaid him by a mile, because there is no way in hell that Trevor Lawrence should be making $55 million. Now, if it's 50 million, 51 million, if it's around the same of like Lamar or Jalen Hurts, but to say that you are going to be tied with Joe Burrow as as the highest paid quarterback, that's just outrageous. Because when you look at the highest paid quarterbacks, according to CBS Sports via SpotRack, they're tied. Okay, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow are tied as the highest paid quarterbacks right now. Under them, you have Jared Goff at $53 million, Justin Herbert $52.5 million, Lamar Jackson $52 million, Jalen Hurts $51 million, Kyler Murray $46.1 million, Deshaun Watson $46 million, Kirk Cousins $45 million, and Patrick Mahomes $45 million. Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl winning champion, Patrick Mahomes, is making $45 million a year, right? He still got his money, but he left enough money to where if they need to go and they need to get another receiver, if they need to get another offensive lineman, a tackle, a running back, a middle linebacker, whatever the case may be, they have the funds to do that. That's how you continue to win. That's how you continue to be competitive. It's not when you just overpay for your quarterback and then try to figure out how you're going to do everything else. It's not how it works. Okay. And it's going to show. It's going to show. People are not going to see the effects of this contract now because it's fresh. Give it 3 years. We'll have a different conversation, right? Because and even then, even when you break down the playoff records for some of the highest paid quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes is the only one with a winning playoff record at 15-3. Okay, Kirk Cousins playoff record 1-3. Deshaun Watson's 1-2. Kyler Murray's 1 loss. Jalen Hurts 2-3. Lamar Jackson 2-4. Justin Herbert 1 loss. Jared Goff 4-4. Joe Burrow 5-2, and Trevor Lawrence 1-1. Right. And so I say all that to say this. When you are paying these quarterbacks, you have to factor in everything, because if you don't, you're going to put yourself in a hole. And then, once you're too deep in the contract where the cap hits are, egregious, and you're unable to really make any moves, and you're basically put in this chokehold type of situation, because there can be a situation, and I know I've said it multiple times, but I want you to understand, and I want to emphasize the importance of not paying a quarterback, almost record breaking, money, because there's going to reach a point in the season, right, where somebody might be hurt and there is an opening, and there could be a player that's basically saying, I want out, I want to go somewhere else, and you can get them for the low, without having to give up, a first round pick and 2 players and compensatory picks and whatnot. Can't do it if you have a quarterback whose cap hit, well, not even cap hit, but who's making 55 million a year. Can't do that, can you? No, you can't. So, it's going to be frustrating. It really is. But this is the decision that the Jaguars made, and so now they basically made their bed, and now they must lay in it. Now, transitioning over to the next topic, right? When you look at these quarterback contracts, right? Especially this contract is directly going to affect the upcoming contracts that's supposed to be happening for the quarterbacks, right? Because when you break it down, right, the future free agent quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Tua, and Justin Fields, right? When you look at, for instance, Jordan Love's market value, according to Spot Rack, his market value is a 4-year, $191.5 million deal. He will be making $47.9 million a year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That allows you to be able to go after, a key free agent that you've had your eye on, to be able to re-sign a few other players that you want to stay with the team, whatever the case may be, right? And even as we continue on with other future free agent quarterbacks, Dak Prescott's market value according to Spot Rack is a 4-year, $203.5 million deal. He'll be making $50.9 million a year, which it is in that $50 million threshold, but it's not. It's something that's a little bit more manageable if you have a GM that can structure the contract correctly, where basically, okay, yes, he gets his money, but at the same time, you're not breaking the bank, right? It still gives you a little bit of wiggle room to, bring in a few people if you need to, make a few splash moves in free agency, whatever the case may be, right? When you look at Tua's market value is 4 years, $198.5 million. He'll be making $49.6 million a year. That's even better. That's even better, folks. That 49 to like $52 million range, that's the sweet spot. Because even then you can configure the contract to where basically, for like the first 2 years is like where you're really seeing, those crazy cap hits and those crazy numbers. And then for the rest of the contract, it's more easy, it's more manageable, it's more digestible. And if the quarterback wants to leave the team, or if you want to, land a superstar, guess what? You can do it. Because why? You have the leverage to do it with your cap. When you look at Justin Fields' market value, right? 4 years, $179.5 million. He'll be making $44.9 million a year. That's really good. That's really good. That is how you are able to continue to surround them not only with talent, but continue to keep the team competitive to a point where they can possibly make a playoff run and eventually maybe even make a Super Bowl run, right? The reason why I'm saying all this, and the reason why I'm emphasizing quarterback contracts, is because we have seen multiple times when a quarterback takes up a large majority of the cap space and they don't go anywhere. And then, when the quarterback, publicly goes and says, I don't have any weapons, I need weapons, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can't ask for weapons, Mr. Smartass, if you got, if you're making, 54, 55 million a year, you can't really do anything. You just can't. I'm sorry. You just cannot do it. Case in point with, for instance, the Chargers, right? And I know this is probably a crazy example, but with their whole situation, after they gave Justin Herbert that deal, in some ways they had to break up the offense a little bit, and they had to change how they did everything, right? And it wasn't only just because they brought in a new head coach and different philosophies and different things of that nature, but you had Keenan Allen, who didn't want to take a pay cut. You had Mike Williams, who could not stay healthy, and he had a large cap hit. You had Joey Bosa, that had a large cap hit. Derwin James, Khalil Mack. You had multiple players on that team that had very large cap hit. And you're not going to get rid of Justin Herbert. You can get rid of a Keenan Allen or a Mike Williams, unfortunately, and that's exactly what happened. They released Mike Williams. They traded away Keenan Allen to the Bears, and Justin Herbert is there, with a average to possibly above average receiving core, right? So I say all that to say this. quarterback contracts can get very, 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 very rocky because one or two things are going to happen. Either they're going to overpay the quarterback and then it puts the entire team in a chokehold, or they underpay the quarterback, but they're basically telling him, hey, by us underpaying you, it allows us to surround you with the talent that you need, right? And so, moving on to the next topic, because I don't want this I don't want this episode, to be long and drawn out and whatnot. But when you look at future quarterback contracts, right? The quarterback market is starting to reach that point where it's going to go, out of hand. And I understand, the league is making a lot of money. They've recovered from the COVID years and whatnot, and it shows, with the cap calculations, because originally a lot of people were reporting that it wasn't going to be as much as it was, reported. But once they did see it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's when a lot of teams were like, okay, we can start shelling out money, we can start paying players, because originally, after 2020, there was a point where not as many teams were willing to really pay, a lot of players, simply because everybody was still recovering from COVID. And then, the numbers were down, so that meant that the revenue for the league as a whole was down. So it was a lot of it was multiple factors that played in, people not getting, crazy contracts. But now that we've, passed that phase, and you have someone like Taylor Swift that's starting to, bring her following over into the league, that's going to boost revenue. And so the trickle down effect is bigger contracts, and it showed in this offseason alone, right? Now, and I've had this conversation with my friends. Shout out to everybody that supports me and supports the podcast. That it's gonna get, someone is going to hit the $60 million mark. Mark my words. It may not happen this year, but I guarantee it. I would not be surprised if next year's free agency market, somebody hits that $60 million market. Now, do I know who it is? I wouldn't be surprised if it's Dak. I just don't. I would not be surprised. Simply because I think the Dolphins are not gonna, they're not gonna really want to pay Tua. I think they're gonna want to ride this season out and see if he can, show another year of consistency and not, not being hurt. Then then they'll probably, write the check. But to say that they're gonna like go over leaps and bounds to pay him, no, they're not gonna do that. Same thing with Justin Fields. I think he's gonna get paid, but he's not gonna get paid. But I do think Dak is probably gonna be the only person that's really gonna get close to that $60 million range. And even then, I think the only teams that probably would do that are teams that are going through rebuild, struggling, and they're in a position where, on the draft board, where they will not be able to get a high-end quarterback, someone like a Dak Prescott. But yeah, that's it. It's a weird situation, and I wouldn't say it's frustrating, but it's just weird because we have seen the model of when the quarterback takes less, it allows the team to build around them and to keep them competitive. And we've also seen the model of overpay the quarterback, and it basically just goes to shit, right? We have seen both models, and you would think that quarterbacks would want to get paid, but at the same time not break the bank. But it's clearly, it shows otherwise. And nothing, and that's it's nothing against them, because again, you want to get paid. This is probably going to be your only or your second to only chance of really getting a significant payday and whatnot. So not opposed to that, but at the same time, if you want to be able to win a championship and that's your goal, that's your dream, well, then sacrifices are going to have to be made. Simple. Tom Brady was not the highest paid quarterback, all those years. He wasn't. He took pay cuts, multiple pay cuts, and it paid off because he won 6 championships with the Patriots, and then he won one with the Buccaneers, and now he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, I'm not saying that, if a quarterback does that they're going to follow the same path as a Tom Brady, but but to say that, you didn't see a difference with them surrounding him with talent, that is true. That is definitely true. But I'm going to end this right here. Just something to hold you guys over. Just something for you guys to think about, going into the weekend and whatnot. If you guys like what you guys are listening to, please, 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 please download the episodes. Give us a 5-star review if possible, on your, whatever podcasting streaming platform that you guys listen to, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever the case may be. Follow us on Instagram at football_junkies pod. Again, that is football_junkies pod. Also, if you have not heard, we have our audio episodes on our YouTube page at Football Junkies Pod. Again, that's Football Junkies Pod. TikTok content coming out soon. We're trying to work through the ins and outs and that, trying to get everything set up. I do know that the league is going to be sort of going on a break for like 6 weeks. This is sort of the drought period, the last drought period before things really start ramping up. So we're going to try to see if we can put out some content. Probably maybe have some special guests. Things are going to get done. We're gonna get through this. Okay, we're gonna weather this storm. Okay, and as always, I hope I gave you guys the fix that you guys need and love. Just as much as I do. I love you guys. Peace out. I'm out.